much a conspiracy, like you just said. And so we have the conspiracy of the week. Did the Indianapolis Colts tank for Andrew Luck in 2012? So, any of you guys have any like opinions or talks
So,
about this?
um, I was the one who researched this topic, and I did find a few things that just didn't seem right in my opinion. So, um, obviously, 2011 season was the Colts tanking season, but in 2010 they were 10-6, and I don't know how a team goes from 10-6 to 2-14 that rapidly. So I found that a little suspicious. Um, I think the second thing I want to say is Peyton Manning. At the time, he had a pretty big contract with the Colts. Obviously, he was there because he was their franchise quarterback for so long. And the release of Peyton Manning was going to happen. Everyone knew his neck injury. They didn't think he would be able to play again. Obviously, we know he did. He was able to. And I think also, um, even if they didn't tank, they could have signed a veteran quarterback available like Carson Palmer. And yeah, Palmer was 33 years old, but I'm sure they would have been happy to have him. But I think in a lot of ways, um, they really were looking for Luck once they realized Peyton Manning was not going to be there long term, and they needed a solution. So I think Luck was a generational prospect, similar to Peyton Manning at his time. A lot of conspiracy around Andrew Luck possibly entering the 2011 draft a year before. He would have been the number one pick over Cam Newton, and so yeah, so I think he was a generational prospect. Now another odd occurrence I saw with this team was they went 0-13 in their first 13 games. Now that can happen with the team, but I don't think the Colts team was that bad to go 0-13. They had pretty solid offense besides quarterback. I think they went through a few quarterbacks, but I still think this team could have won a few more games. And even more suspicious, I feel like they won two of their last three games. Okay, because they went 2-14. I think they won two of their last three games to not look suspicious, and for the pride of not going 0-16. But I think it is very suspicious that they were losing this many games when they still were a decent team besides the quarterback position. So, what do you guys think about this whole story?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very shady, and I think there's like no way to basically know, but there's evidence to basically suggest that. And I think you dropped Andrew Luck, and I think obviously all that he's shown the Colts in his 7, 8 years of playing, they've paid off. But I don't know, like the evidence that basically suggests that they tanked for him is kind of like enough for us to conclude that they may have tanked for Andrew Luck. And obviously, it's a conspiracy, but like I think they tanked for Andrew Luck. I mean, obviously, as AJ said, you don't go 0-13 in your first 13 games unless you're the Browns a couple years ago. So, yeah.
Even the
So,
Browns
yeah.
might have been tanking for Myles Garrett, but that's a completely different thing. And
Yeah.
I feel like at its time, pretty this was pretty far back in the past. Obviously, it doesn't seem like it now, but 2011 was pretty far back. But Andrew Luck was the whole idea of tanking, I guess, wasn't really a thing. Most teams didn't think about tanking so much. Now, recently, I feel like it's really come up where like quarterbacks like Tua, like the whole Miami Dolphins tanking for Tua. Yeah, in the end, they got him at fifth overall, but obviously, no one knew Joe Burrow would exist, so it was public consensus that Tua Tagovailoa would have been the first overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft if Joe Burrow wasn't there. So I think in a lot of ways, this whole tanking thing was actually definitely a new concept and wasn't explored at the time. And this story actually didn't come up until recently, this whole theory, because until the Tua tanking thing. And I think now this year, we may see a few teams tanking for another quarterback in next
For
year's draft
Lawrence.
in Trevor Lawrence. So I
Yeah.
think that's going to be interesting to watch.
Stud. Yeah. And so,
I'm on my own, broken alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and